Good evening. It's just gone 7 o'clock here in the UK, and saying UK rather than England because we're sort of opposite ends of the country-ish. I'm delighted to welcome Cath Barton, who hails from Abergavenny in Wales, one of the Welsh towns I can actually pronounce. Gogogoch. Can't do the rest of it. I know
Mm.
Gogogoch, and it starts with a chlan. But that's it. I lose the middle. How is Abergavenny? It looks like it's still sunny there where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Morgan. Thank you so much. It's been a
Oh, you're
lovely
very welcome.
day. It's been a really lovely day in Abergavenny after a wet weekend. I've been
Oh,
out walking on the hills. It's been
oh,
absolutely lovely.
nice,
Yeah.
nice, lovely.
Mm.
Well, we're here to talk about you and your writing,
Yep.
and we always start at the beginning. So, can you remember how you got into writing, and can you remember what the first thing was that you wrote?
Well, I'm sure I must have written things when I was at school, but the first thing that I really remember writing was a short story when I was at university. And I was studying French and geography, and as a subsidiary subject, I did English. And the English tutor said, you don't need to write essays, you can do a piece of creative writing.
Oh, nice.
So I wrote this really, really bad story. I mean, it was really embarrassingly personal. I didn't know how to deal with my
Oh,
own experience. And the tutor, was so kind and so encouraging.
mm.
I've never forgotten that. And when my first book was published, I wanted to tell him, but unfortunately he died. I was really
Oh,
sad about that.
mm,
So it was a very bad story. I can't remember the title. I probably have it somewhere. I don't know if I can bear to look it out.
mm,
It was sort of about a rabbit dying, and it was kind of about my father. And anyway,
mm,
it was a start.
mm.
But
Did you find it quite therapeutic to write, or the opposite? Was it too personal, do you think?
I found it, I suppose I did find it therapeutic. Yeah, I think
Mm,
so. But it was no good as a story.
right.
But what my tutor told me, his name was Francis Doherty, what he explained to
Mm,
me was you've got to distance yourself from your experience. You've got to put it through a filter of some kind. So I've never
mm.
forgotten that. And he was really helpful.
Because teachers can make or break people, can't they?
He
I know
was.
my primary school was just, I was going to say delicious, but it was in academic terms. It was wonderful, and I had a fabulous year 10. That was the last. I have no clue what years are these
uh,
days,
you know,
but it was our class 10, the final before I went off to high school. And it was literally called a high school, Dr. Challoner's High School in Little Chalfont, Buckinghamshire, and he was just the most wonderful teacher, fabulous. And
mm,
he was a photographer as well. My dad was a photographer and
mm,
had photographic shops, so he used to come in, and he was wonderful. I don't know if he's still around. I should.
you
That's
should
reminded me now to,
look him
yes, to look
up.
him up.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
it makes
yeah.
such a difference. These encouraging teachers.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you still write. So that's how we sort of first. We've never met in real life, but
Mm.
you entered my as it was then, my 100-word competitions
I did. I did.
prolifically.
I found actually I discovered a 100-word story some years ago. A friend of mine had got a 100-word story published in an anthology, and I didn't know anything about them then. I was amazed that you could actually write a story of that length and repeat a word and it be okay.
Mm.
So I found. Yeah, I got interested then. So your things were good, and I must have a look at the 50-word
Oh
opportunities now.
yes, do
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
It's not. I was going to say it's a bit difficult being a judge of competition because I'm a judge of Beacon Lit competition, but they have an administrator who sends them to me without knowing who writes them. But it is all about the story, and I'm very good. I don't think, oh yes,
Mm,
he came. He didn't get anywhere last month, so I must give him a place this month. It's just that's not how
mm,
it works.
mm,
And I love it. I absolutely love it. But I do find that when I'm writing myself, that I need a theme. There's a local short story competition, and it's just an open theme. You can write whatever you like. And then I'm one of these people who just needs to be told, okay, write about a pencil, and I can write not a novel necessarily, but I can write a story about a pencil. I just
So
need something to write
yeah,
about.
I guess I do too. But I mean, we find ways of getting those themes, don't we? Like using random words, for example.
Mm.
Don't you
Because
find?
you take photographs in your
I
biography.
do take
Says you take.
photographs, and I do like to use visual prompts.
Mm.
In fact, I'm doing a talk to a local U3A group
Yeah.
soon on that topic of art as inspiration for stories. I'm just preparing a new talk because I really like that.
It's interesting that you say, because I'm exactly the same, that I never planned, because I started off with short stories. There's a website called storyaday.org, and it's an English lady, Julie, who lives in America, and every May she puts up a prompt, similar to the kind of thing that in the my competition, but it's every day for a month, and I always get this wrong. Over there, the dog detective. There we go. Oh, Henry
Yeah.
started off as one of her prompts, which was a picture with a dog and a cat toy with one of its ears chewed off. And I wrote this little ditty, because you could write whatever you like, but it's every day. So I wrote this little ditty from a talking dog, where it says it's blames the owner for giving the dog, and it's not his fault that he ripped the ear off. And that ended up being a novel. So but I never planned on being a novelist, and that's exactly what you've said in your biography, that you never planned on writing anything that long.
No. Until really 2 or 3 years ago, it was 3 or 4 years ago, I said I was never going to write a novel, and in fact, I was never going to write a novella. That came about because of a challenge one New Year. I was in a writing group. We met the first meeting of the New Year. One of the groups said, "Who's going to write a novella this year?" And I kid you not, I saw my hand going up.
Okay. And then
So
that
I had to
means you
do
were
it.
tied
I
to
had
do
to
it. Yeah.
do it. I had to do it. So I wrote a novella. And I've got 4 published. 4? Yeah, 4. So, and then there came a novel, which is actually my first novel, not yet published, is constructed out of shorter pieces. It's constructed out of flash. That's how I wrote it, but it is now a full-length 70,000 word novel.
Wow, that's brilliant. And do you write every day? Are you pretty good at saying, right, I'm going to, because life does have a habit of taking over.
I'm not one of these people. You used to perhaps still do sometimes in papers. You'd have, a little interview with a famous writer, and they say, right, I write every day from 10 till 12, and then I have a small glass of wine and lunch and go and have a swim. I've never been like that. If I've got a project, if I've got a deadline imposed by myself or somebody else, then I will write. Certainly, I'll write Monday to Friday, and I'll generally write in the mornings. But I'll go days. I won't go weeks without writing, but I'll certainly go days without writing. And yeah, I do work to deadlines. So
I find I need deadlines. If somebody tells me, or whenever it suits you, it just never gets done.
I know.
I need
That's
you.
terrible.
You tell me when you need it.
Give me a deadline, quite. Because if you say do it in the next 2 months, I won't do it till the end of the 2 months.
I'm the same.
So it's not exactly laziness. Sometimes it's laziness.
But life does have I'm pretty good, because I used to be a secretary, so I'm pretty good at prioritizing. So I think if you know something has to be done by a week on Friday, then everything else will get done by a week on Thursday. And then you find all of a sudden you've got that one day to do it. Yeah.
So I do have to have to-do lists every day. If I don't have a to-do list, I won't get anything. I've always done it.
I have one here.
When I worked in an office, I had one, and I used to put it, start with something like get up, get to work, so I could cross them off. I don't do that now, but I do like to cross something off early.
I was going to say, it's therapeutic, isn't it? Again, we come back to therapy.
So I've got,
it's rewarding having doing the tick. Oh yes.
See, but I have to. So I cross them out in red, and then I feel right, and then at the end of the day, I tick it off. Just the way I do it.
And have you chosen, because obviously starting with short stories, how are you with genres? Do you aim for sort of particular genres or just
Uh,
whatever comes out?
Whatever comes out, though, I would say sometimes I write magical realism. I really like magical realism.
Mhm.
Um, Not really, I wouldn't say fantasy, but reality with strange things happening in it. Um, I have occasionally written a ghost story. I have occasionally written, I've even written a murder mystery. I really just write
Whatever
slightly
grabs you.
quirky things. I never quite know what genre to call something,
Mm.
actually. So call it literary fiction, but it isn't necessarily.
Mm. Do you find that the more you write, the I don't know what you're like with drafts, whether you write by hand and then type it up.
I do a mixture. These days I do a lot of typing straight away.
Mhm.
But I think it's good for me to have times when I'm just with a notebook. Um, so if I'm going away somewhere, I'll definitely be scribbling in a notebook. I won't be using a computer.
Mm.
And then, of course, then I've got to type it up and then I start editing it.
Mm. Because
So
that's
it's,
almost your first edit, isn't it? When you're
yeah,
converting it from a
it definitely is.
yeah.
Um, I did during the pandemic when everything was very tough for everybody. I found I couldn't write. God, my brain was seized up. But I went to what I did was if somebody ran something every day, Monday to Friday. We met at a certain time in the afternoon online, and we wrote for I think it was 5 minutes. So we'd meet, say hello, and then we'd write for 5 minutes, bye bye. And that was really good. And actually, that wasn't about generating material for stories. It was just
Mm.
about keeping the writing brain going,
Mm.
keeping the brain going. And sometimes that's good. I don't keep a daily journal, but I think for me, sometimes just writing whatever is
Whatever
that
comes
kind of
out.
oiling the brain. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
And do you find the more you write, the less you have to edit? Does it
Uh,
depend on what you write?
I think I always have to edit. I think I've always, my first drafts are going to be rough. I do edit. If so, I've done it if I've written a notebook, when I type it up, as you were saying, I'll be editing
Mm.
then. If I'm typing straight onto the computer, I will be beginning to edit as I go. So I don't go through lots and lots of drafts. I mean, when I've books that have gone through the publishing process, I've had to go through lots of drafts.
Mm.
The book In the Sweep of the Bay that was published by Louise Walters. Louise was really strict, so strict on everything. We had to go through everything several times, but that was really good.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm pretty sure because I recognized when I was going through your biography, I recognized Louise's name.
Mm.
I think I don't know how our paths have crossed in the past, but I definitely know of her.
She was so good. It's such a shame she's had to stop publishing. She's still
Right.
publishing her own books, but she's not able to publish
Mm.
anybody else's directly now because she just wasn't financially able to
Mm.
do it anymore.
Mm.
Um,
It's a tough a lot of well, I think a lot of publishers have either been born before COVID and not survived, or born during and are still going, or even not survived.
it's a tough
It's
one, and
tough.
Louise did everything. I've never known anybody more supportive of her authors.
Mm.
I think there were seven of us, and she was fantastic. She's still we still keep in touch. She's
Yeah, sure.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, and I couldn't have wished for a better publisher, a better editor,
Mm.
actually.
Mm.
I've had other editors who have been, shall we say, less useful.
Right.
Uh, yes, let's not talk about
Yeah, there's a real mixture out there now.
let's not talk about what doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was very lucky. I was really lucky with Louise because
Mm.
I sent her In the Sweep of the Bay when it was hardly there, and it wasn't even the length of a novella. And she said, I sent her. the first 5,000 words, and she said she'd like to read the rest, at which point I had to confess
Right.
I'd only
Yeah,
written
it
about
wasn't a
eight.
rest.
I'd written about 8,000. She said, well, yes, okay. Obviously, it's not enough. So it was really good of her to stick with me, give me a chance. She didn't give me a contract until I'd actually written over 20,000. But she was very encouraging all from the start. And, yeah, great.
And how did the covers come about? Did
Oh,
she create those and give
she
you a
creates.
choice, or?
She has worked with. Oh no, I've forgotten the name of the person. Oh, she worked with a designer, and we gave between us. Louise and I gave the designer ideas, and she produced something. We actually amended it. So I didn't have total control, but I had a lot of input to the cover of In the Sweep of the Bay, which was, and everybody, so many people remark on the cover and how good it is. And as you know, it's a huge selling point, a good cover.
Absolutely, because people do judge by it.
Huge. And look back to the days when books in libraries didn't have anything other than a plain cover, and you had to just pick something up, look at it. If you didn't know the author, open it at random, really. So nowadays, as you know, books sell by the cover.
Especially when they're sort of postage stamp size.
Yes.
And you have to, you're confronted by like the top 100.
Yes.
It's tricky because I belong to a Brian Cohen's author ad school, which is sort of started off around Amazon advertising, and has sort of grown from, they talk about covers and marketing and much more than that. And they say that covers you should write to market, but also that the covers people should know what to expect from the covers, and that when you get the top 100, they should look pretty much the same as all the other books. And I'm kind of thinking, well, yes, because that's what readers expect. But if you have a cover that's strikingly different, it should be strikingly different for a good reason. It's tricky, isn't it?
I think you look at certain genre like murder mystery. They have certain styles, don't they, for covers? I mean, the cover of In the Sweep of the Bay shows you the bay, and it shows you the couple who are at the center of the story. Yeah, I don't know. They've got to be eye-catching. They've got to make somebody want to pick it up and open it, read the back, and open it.
Equally, at least working with a publisher and a designer, they should know what the market is and
yes,
what readers expect from your story, really. And how much of the marketing do you are you expected to do? And how
quite a
much do you
bit,
do?
quite a bit, and I do. I'm very happy to do quite a lot of marketing. I do that through social media. I do it through going, like I'm saying, going to give a talk at U3A, so I can sell my books, and anything like that. I'm fairly proactive, and I think it's demanded of all authors these days, whether you're traditionally published or published, self-published, what have you. You can't just sit back and expect the thing to walk off the shelf. No. I used to think it's really important to me to get my books into bookshops, but that alone isn't going to work. Things don't, just because a book is in a bookshop, even if it's on the table, it's not necessarily going to sell.
And it's not going to be there forever.
No. So I think you've just, as writers today, as authors today, I think we've got to be out there. And it's no good saying, I know people who say, oh, I don't like doing it. Well, it's just part of the work. It's part of the business. Yeah.
Yes.
But I quite like it.
Yeah. Well, when I teach, I say that not to depress my students, especially the beginners, that writing is actually the easy bit. You upload your book, self-publishing, you upload your book, and especially on Smashwords, where I haven't put anything on Smashwords for a long time, but certainly you were told what number you are in the queue, and you see the numbers chunter down, and then when it gets to number one, you think, great, everybody's going to go out and buy the book, and then it's literally tumbleweed.
Yeah.
And so you have to, don't you?
You have to, and word of mouth is so important,
Mhm.
and picking opportunities. So we have, I'm in the Society of Authors, we have a Society of Authors group, actually based in Monmouth, that I'm part of. So we get, opportunities. Like last week, somebody in Monmouth was having a pop-up, actually, a is he a painter, or is he not even sure what he is, but he's another kind of creative person, and he was having a pop-up shop, and he invited us to send him our books, and he sold 3 of my books. I didn't have to do anything.
Yeah,
he took only 10%, and
that's really good.
really, really generous, really generous.
I'm doing an event on Saturday, and that's I'm taking the books, and that's I would say a proper bookshop, but it is a bricks and mortar bookshop, but it's a library event, and they're taking 40%, which is less than Waterstones. I think when I was hoping that Waterstones would take my Northampton book, which is the first serial book. They wanted to, but unfortunately, the publisher I was with at the time, they were very good. They took the price down, but still, because it was publisher, distributor, bookshop, and Waterstones wanted 55%, that they couldn't do it, and they wouldn't deal with me directly because I wasn't a supplier. So it didn't get in the shop, and it's set all around Northampton, which was a real shame.
Such a shame. I come from Northampton. You know that?
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
I was born in
Oh,
Northampton.
okay.
I went to school in Northampton.
Oh,
Yeah.
did you?
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Notre
there
Dame
for
High School,
30 years. Oh, yes, on the high street.
which
Well,
is now
behind the high
not
street.
not there anymore.
No, no,
No,
that was a big scandal
yeah, not done.
for maybe another time. But yes, apparently
Yeah.
sold on the proviso that, and then that was thrown out the window and
Mm.
knocked down. And yes, not a as these things happen. So what's next for you, Kath?
So I'm writing a novella in Flash. So a novella
Yes, you
in
mentioned that earlier. That does sound
so a
interesting.
novella in Flash. Bath. So there's an annual novella in Flash competition in Bath,
Mm.
and I wrote one. Well, I've tried a few times. I wrote one called The Geography of the Heart, which is actually set in Abergavenny, and it was shortlisted. No, beg pardon. It was longlisted in 2023. I think I'm right saying that. And then a man called John
Oh, I
Brantingham.
know, John. Yeah,
Oh, you know John, right?
I do. Yeah, again online.
Okay,
We've not
so
met
it's
in person, but
in New York.
yeah.
So he was the judge, and he said that he liked all the long-listed titles, and he would talk to anybody who was interested. So although he didn't shortlist me, talk to anybody who was interested about possible publishing opportunities, which was generous of him. So we had a Zoom chat, and he suggested a chap called Thomas,
Okay.
who runs something called Arroyo Seco Press in California.
Mm.
And he's got Welsh connections, so I suppose that made him
Must be a nice guy then.
Yeah, and he took it and he published it.
Oh wow.
So it's strangely published, a book about set in Abergavenny, published in California,
Mm.
and available on Amazon. Anyway, I thought I've got an idea which I won't talk about in detail because I don't want to jeopardize my chances. But
Sure.
so I'm writing this new novella in Flash, which is it's kind of strange. It's strange. Something strange happens to somebody.
Right.
And
That's always a good start.
It's got to be done by the end of October. So that's in draft, and that's going to be. It's got to be. It's got to be at least 8,000 words. It's not going to be massive.
Mm.
Novella in Flash can be shorter than a novella. So I've got to get on with that. But before I do that, I'm going this weekend to Brussels to a group, a thing called the European Writers Salon meeting with writers from across Europe, and we are planning a bigger salon event next spring.
How lovely.
So it's going to be really interesting to meet all these people and talk about how we can make connections
Mm.
across Europe, which I think is really good,
Wow.
because I think it's good to look out and especially to look across Europe. So there'll be people there from France, Switzerland, Belgium, Spain, not sure about Italy, UK. I'm the only person from Wales,
Okay.
somebody from Ireland. So that's going to be real fun. And
Mm.
I'll get a chance to do a bit of research. I shall go to I'm going a day early. I'm going to the Fine Art Museum in the centre of Brussels, where I can look
Mm.
at Bosch, who I've written about, and
Yes.
Bruegel, and also there's a Magritte
Mm.
museum. So I think
Mm.
that would be really interesting because the surrealism, which interests me. And so I'm hoping for some inspiration there, but not for this particular novella in Flash, maybe the next one.
Right. Oh, how lovely. There was
Yeah,
some, I went to for apparently our second honeymoon. First honeymoon, we got married in April. First honeymoon was in Gran Canaria. I nearly
lovely,
forgot where we went. And
lovely.
then we went to Cologne in July, and there's a museum there with some Magrittes.
Okay.
It's just astounding.
Did
They have
you went there?
half a dozen,
Oh,
yes, half a dozen paintings of pretty much everybody. Picasso, Michelangelo, just amazing. And you don't think of, you know of the Louvre, and you don't think of Cologne
mm,
Museum as being one of the top places
mm,
of art. Amazing.
great.
Anyway. So yes, hopefully we'll be back with you in October, November to talk about your books specifically. Start with the book of your choice, probably one of your novellas. But yes, your novellas and Flash sound interesting. Do you know offhand roughly how much you've written in one day as your best day?
Oh, maybe when I was doing that NaNoWriMo thing, I
Oh yes.
might have written 5,000 in a day, but I don't think it would have
Mm.
been much good.
Right. Just about splurging though, isn't it?
It's just about splurging.
NaNoWriMo.
Actually splurging.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've done it 3 or 4 times. And one year I did a collection of short stories. I thought I don't really want to write I hadn't got an idea. Well, I'd got loads of ideas, but I just fancy doing something different. So I did do a collection of short stories, which I think is still on my hard drive somewhere.
Right.
Should do
Something to
something
go
with it.
back to. Yeah.
Exactly. I have lots of those. Yes, too many. I'm a magpie. I'll get partway through something and then think, oh, bright, sparkly new idea. I like
Mm-hmm.
that. Let's start
Mm-hmm.
to the next one. So yes, my hard drive is full of 40,000 here and
Really? Oh, wow.
12,000 here and 110,000 in one case I haven't done anything with.
Gosh,
But
you've got lots of
I will.
material to work on. Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. At some point. On my list to be ticked off or crossed off with a red pen at some point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Yes.
Great things, red pens. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it's been. I wasn't allowed to use them as a teacher. Well, not allowed. Discouraged from using a red pen as a teacher for adult learning. The council.
Oh,
So we had green. We were supplied with green pens instead
oh, okay.
because it's more user friendly.
Oh, I like
Would
purple.
cross things out.
Mm,
Well, I haven't tried purple pens, but
mm, mm.
yes, yes. Lee Russell, who wears everything is purple, would agree with you there. But purple is the best, and it is my favourite colour as
It's a
well.
great colour. Yeah, love it.
Yes. Yes. Anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining me,
Thank
and
you,
look
Morgan.
look
Lovely
forward
to
to
chat.
chatting again. Yes.
Yeah, me
Thank you.
too. Thanks.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye then.